Evening, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday night show, our new format with our interviews for exploring the new age, the interviews. Ta-da. Julian, good evening.
Hey Don, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I can
Yeah.
tell by the choice of your shirt tonight that you've got a lot of liveliness in you.
I wanted to bring a little Florida into the show tonight. So, even
The
though, well,
colors kind of
Hawaiian
like
shirt.
go together over here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you heard Judy, our guest for tonight, Judy Jandora. Um, Judy considers herself a seeker, an explorer, and an accelerator to others along the path of ascension. She is an intuitive counselor. She listened to her strong inner call to learn tarot and now holds sessions with spiritual teachers, healers, and awakening beings all over the world to assist them to find inner peace and balance. In 2012, she was prompted to let go of her home and most of her possessions, which took her to many places around the world and brought her in contact with hundreds of people, both in person and via circles of awakeners across the world. Then in 2013, she hosted her own radio show called Enjoy the Show. She's still listening to her inner guidance and traveling where she is called. Now she is enjoying staying with Crystal and Julien and excited for all that is to come. Well, welcome, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me.
This is pretty
Yeah.
odd. I think it's been a long time coming since we had that little snippet that we put out on Facebook and had a small chat.
Right, out in
think
the
people-
backyard.
Yeah, people are wondering who you are. We're
I
here to
know.
talk.
Cool.
And we get to find out more about you tonight. I actually was thinking about this. That's kind of why I brought the shirt on because I know you're from Florida. You live in Florida now, and but our first three guests have all been in the Pacific Northwest. Steve up in Vancouver, and
Yeah.
Andrew
Right.
last week in Seattle, and now you're in Washington
Technically,
with
yeah.
Julian.
It's the same zone now.
Yeah.
It is. It's like I don't know.
Huh.
I think next week we're gonna have Bigfoot. We're gonna have an interview with Sasquatch live from the Pacific Northwest. But anyways, a good evening.
That'll be a big listenership right there.
Thanks. Um, so, we've got somebody in the chat room from Australia.
Cool.
Awesome.
Is that Jax Dunn? Welcome,
Yeah.
Jax. So I had just one thing before we got started because we did have a lot of things to talk about today, and that we wanted to bring up with Judy very specifically to get her feelings and thoughts about them.
Mhm.
I wanted to basically welcome people to this new format of the interviews. Exploring the New Age is a show that we do on Wednesdays. But the interviews are basically getting a lot of time with people that we feel that are really out there changing the world. Like they're actually actively committing themselves, fully to that, shift in the balance of the energies, either through helping in the shift, through literal action, or helping people, work with the shift in their own space. And Judy's one of those people that does both. And so she's very a real go-getter, I want to say. And
Totally.
and I just wanted to quickly mention where I first found her. She and I first initially met with her interviewing me on her Enjoy show. So, in fact, this is kind of like making a full circle, right? So,
It is.
it's kind
I
of cool.
love it. I love it.
I know a little bit more about her right now, but I feel everyone else really deserves to get a lot more of this sort of, the piece of this pie that
Thank
Judy
you so
brings
much.
forward. So,
Well, for me, it was a surprise too when we were together in Washington at Julian and Crystal's to find out that the Enjoy show was yours. I had listened to the show many times and
so
just never
cool.
made the
I had no
connection.
idea.
So yeah, I know, that's great. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about how you started out on this journey. I mentioned this probably every show now, but I love the story when I'm talking with people about the awakening process and how you, if you remember and if you're aware of that time when you go, oh, wait a second, maybe things aren't the same as what I've been working with in the past.
The crazy thing is the more I wake up, the more I realize that it started out that way. Like my life started out that way here. But if you want to jump over like the things that I remember knowing myself to be so different when I was younger, knowing myself to not fit into any group, in fact not being able to even do that. There was nothing in me that would allow me to, that I wanted to. I was always a loner, very, I loved people and I could play and stuff, but I didn't fit into any clique ever. Barely got out of high school because I could hardly stand doing the turns and doing what I was, told to do. I just was like, let me out. So I think I went to, I worked at a discotheque my senior year and went to night school to finish that off, and then I was just done. And thank God for the internet, because when the internet came up, that was when my world started opening everywhere, and probably when I really started getting the messages that there was nothing else for me but to go in this direction. And the exploration that I could do on the internet just opened everything up for me. And I also, that kind of came around the same time as a physical issue that lasted for 5 years that literally could have taken me out. The numbers showed that I was like right next to death and all of that kind of stuff. But it was my higher self and the fullness of me getting me, my body, to slow down, to shut down as much as possible, to quiet me, to get me out of my house, to get me out of everything. Then that had me on all, like the four card, which is, just stable. I wasn't allowed to do that. We moved around all the time when I was a kid, so I was used to the constant movement. But I'd been in this house for 11 years. This thing started coming on. My son was young, and so anyway, for 5 years I had this illness at the same time. And the interesting thing is that I knew during the whole time of my illness that there was something really amazing happening at the same time, and that I needed to pay attention. And I gave myself the time. I didn't really have much of a choice to lay back and get quiet and listen. And then I started doing some meditations that really opened me up, gave me some experiences that were otherworldly, that I still was kind of like, yeah. But I could feel I was done with the fight. I didn't want to fight anymore. I didn't want to be in a box anymore. There wasn't anything about that felt right for me anyway, and I could see everywhere I looked how things were distorted from what I sensed was a much easier flow, and just honesty and using intuition and that kind of thing. So, I was also always a very creative person, and I think that really makes a big difference when you've got a natural bent towards creativity. You kind of get out of other people's boxes and you move in with your own flow.
You talk about your work as an artist?
Yeah, that too. Exactly. Yeah, because I've always done things. I've always I loved to color when I was a kid, and
Not
make things
within the
in
lines,
my.
I imagine.
Not within the lines.
Oh yeah, actually beautifully within the lines. I could make it look three-dimensional. It was really good, but lots of different things. But now I'm a mural artist, and I make jewelry. I make healing stone jewelry, and it's just, I think when in cooking, living is art. Really, truly. Every bit of it is art. It's just where do you want to take certain things and to, which degree of uniqueness.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when you sold your house and you started traveling, what are some of the experiences that you found on the road that really added to your changing?
Oh, everything.
Everything added.
Everything. Everything in my life, and I will kind of give you a better answer than that. I can give you a few answers of, like, there were certain things that happened that were a congruence of a lot of energy coming together. The Opal tour, that was huge. That lasted for about 4 months. That was so big in so many ways. I could write books about it if I ever felt like writing.
And that was during the summer of 2013.
That started in October of 2013. Right? October, November, December.
Okay, so late 2013.
So it's only 2.5 months. God, it felt like a lot longer than that.
A lot happened.
A lot happened. That was wild. And then I was down in Florida because I was commissioned to do some murals down in Florida, and then I was commissioned to do more. And I'd already released everything, so I knew that I was to travel around, and I'm always called, even though I don't know 2 days before when I'm leaving, or where I'm going, or how I'm going to pay for it, or anything. I can feel something moving, I can feel something shifting, I can feel it changing, and I know that everything will open up, and it will literally it'll open up, and I'll go into it, and I'll know why as it opens up. And it's always amazing. It's always transformative for everyone involved. And wow, yeah.
So you found a definite comfort in the now. Is that true?
I found a familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found a familiarity with it, and it's really, it's been a trip of learning to love myself more all the time. Always, when I get nervous, and I was nervous for this. I'm nervous for this still a little bit, which I find just cute as a button. I think it's adorable. See, learn to love myself more. Instead of telling the old stories, this is something that I really love doing, helping other people with too, is we've been so incredibly well trained to automatically think certain things because it's there and it's theirs on TV. It's how you grew up. It's in the culture. And so what I learned was to really pay attention to the loop back, and where's it coming from? And did I create that? Is that what I would really want for myself? And look what it's doing to reality. And so I start paying attention to that, and then I start catching myself and being kind to myself instead of, a lot of people like, damn, I did it again, and I probably did that myself.
Yeah.
And there are lots of little traps in there, and all of them you're going to get because it's part of the process of learning. It's training to really be able to stand in who you are, stand in the love that you are, and the light that you are, through all of these different ways of experiencing the contrast of that.
Yeah, so the contrast, are you talking about the contrast between that and before, like the Opal tour, or before you stepped out, or are you talking about the contrast just in the daily?
Well, the contrast in the daily, sorry, yeah,
Right.
I totally went off on a road and forgot that I was even there, so
Okay.
thank you. Well, the contrast between now and then but the contrast of the Opal tour, the contrast of people coming together with, with hope and, and the wanting to, and putting yourself, your whole body and your whole person into doing whatever it takes to change the world for the better, and not knowing how to do it, but just coming into communion with people. And everybody starts working their stuff out, and you see your mirrors, and you see the mirrors that are like, ouch, that's a sharp point, or not so pretty, or but the whole thing is that's our training. So when you're in front of somebody that ticks you off, or that pisses you off, or that you think, whatever it is that you're thinking, eventually it's always going to come back to, is that really how you feel about yourself? You know, because, or is that pretty much that's it, or you still believe it to be true because somebody told that to you a long time ago, and it's still something because you never thought about it before. You just took it on and you put it on like a cloak, like clothes, and you wear it because everybody does until you realize that you don't have to. So anyway, all of this is training. So every single little bit of it has been training, and it continues to be. And the training is to open my heart.
So how are some of the ways that you work with people through your business and that sort of thing, as you're working with the people that are working for the change and working through this transition?
Well, the business part of it has never been something that I've looked at too seriously, which is kind of why I'm kind of, out there. But there's a reason for that, and I know that there is, and so I'm trusting that, and I'm just allowing it to be as it is. So I've never really thought of it too much as a business, although I do readings, and I do charge a certain amount, and I go over the place with that depending on what's going on. And but I'm really about offering my readings. I used to do intuitive counseling. I was told, my guides had actually told somebody who could actually listen to guides, because I couldn't back then, to contact me. And she finally did after 5 days of not being able to sleep because they just bugged her all night, basically, and told her that I am a spiritual counselor and that she needed to tell me this, and then I needed to start doing it right away. And that was like 10 years ago or something like that. And so it's just continued from there. What was I speaking about?
Well, it's not really a business.
Oh, it's not a business. But the counseling is something that I've been doing for a really long time, just helping people to kind of take the sting off of the story. Like when something happens, the reaction tends to be, you move into, well, you got to be pissed off at them because that's wrong and this is wrong according to the people that surround us right now. And it's just a rote thing. So I've been kind of loosening that for myself and for others along the way, and kind of helping to rewrite the story.
That's really what the shift is about. It's really having a kind of a new, fresher, perspective, like Judy's perspective, as she shares that. But she also is quite verbose in her explanations. Like, she gets you to the point where you do understand. Like, she's there patiently with you. Just take your time with you. And it's pretty much like one of those people you could have a conversation with all day and just keep getting wowed by, where the conversation can take your current level of understanding or your current level of trust in yourself. She's really, I don't want to say a nurturer or a nurse or something like that. I want to say she's more like an exfoliator, right? She helps you sort of flower in your own way.
Right.
In the ways that, many of us have been holding back within ourselves. So being yourself, she helps you be and find yourself.
Well, you
Thank
find
you. Yes.
Okay.
You find the discovery of the uniqueness to be an important aspect with each person you come in contact with, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's critical across the board. I think it's so important for people to be who they are, and not who, others think them to be, and the mindset of listening to what, family said or church said or whatever about who you are to be. There's somebody inside of each one of us that is so powerfully wanting to come out and be pure and loving and fun and crazy, I'm freaky, whatever. Just, we're all a unique work of art, and how boring if we were all the same flavor or close to the same flavor or any of that, and it takes all of us for this world to really be balanced. So each person really is a divine gift within inside of themselves, and a necessary part of this creation.
So
exactly as
can
they are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. So can you talk to us a little bit about your feelings on this time that we're going through? Because I think a lot of people are either not aware of their uniqueness, or they have stumbling blocks to that love that you show for yourself,
Yeah.
that keeps them from moving in a direction that opens them up to more possibilities.
Right, right. Well, they're going to get a lot of help. They're going to get a
Okay.
lot of help. They're already getting help. I mean, look at what the internet has done. Facebook itself is just miraculous for all of this. The energy is just flowing through, just like all of the capillaries and arteries in our bodies. That energy is flowing through creation and waking people up left and right.
Yeah.
And the energies of our heavenly bodies out there. I'm still learning what all of this stuff is. I finally let go of all of the old judgments and the paperboarding or cardboard washing. Anything that seemed too good to be true or fairy-like or magical. The fact is it all is magical. And it's up to you what you do with it. How magical does it really get for you? So, where was I again?
Well, you're talking about how this this sort of like this shift or this new age, how is it affecting people, and sort of like what is that purpose that you're finding in it when helping people?
Yeah. Oh, right. And so things that are coming right now. The energy that's coming from the other bodies in our solar system and beyond actually are amping up. The subtle light content. The amount of subtle light coming in through the different suns and our own sun, it's channeling different energies now that are going to start really opening things up. And it's going to feel like we can finally take all of that stuff that we put on over the years and say, well, this is me, this is me, this is me. And, we were taught to kind of separate ourselves and differentiate ourselves. And now we're kind of like getting rid of all of that and becoming really unique without all of the cardboard. I want to say cardboard because there's no oomph to it. I'm looking at these color prints up here and I just love that. But now is the time for all of this to come into a beautiful spiral, and it's going to start making sense to us. It's going to be difficult for a lot of people, but the difficulty itself will be the experience that is necessary for them to ask to finally be set free from the structures that bind. And when that happens, there are going to be so many of us ready and available, with open hearts, incredibly open hearts, and incredible wisdom from all that we've gone through, kind of trudged through this, bulldozing through it, every which way we could and can to continue, because it's never done. We're always evolving, always. But it's going to get really crazy, stinking awesome. Amazing! But we've got to get through this little bit coming up, and we will.
It's like this little bit is like just, washing the car the last time before you could see the brilliance of like really what's underneath.
Yeah.
Maybe the dust or the grime that builds up or something.
Yeah, it's that last little bit, the stuff that's way down deep in there that you're just like, oh, nobody's going to see that. Well, when the light shines from all realms and all sides, it shows, and you're going to feel it actually. It's gonna block the light, and you're going to want the light, so you're going to want the block to be gone. And that would be a great thing to talk about too, is,
Yeah, so that's exactly where I wanted to go then.
Cool. Cool.
What do you see where we're moving to? Once we get through this short time here, we're definitely wanting it to be as short as possible. But
Right.
where do we go? What are you anticipating seeing happen?
You know what? All I know, I don't have a vision of that. I have lots of them here and there, but it's really more about a feeling. And it's a feeling of being free. a feeling of loving oneself so much. And I've felt this before. I've been in this state before. I've been brought into the higher dimensional realms. I've had some really very wild and interesting initiations from my higher selves and archetypes that are angelic and that were physical and just wild and beautiful. And basically, it's just all coming to a place. What was I talking about again? I'm going to have to get myself a little beat.
The future, as we're talking about after this, hopefully short span of time. Yeah.
So it's just, to me, it feels like it's all about coming into oneness with all things, all beings. You know yourself as all of it, and all of it is love, and all of it is so much more beautiful and alive and interesting than what this world so far has let us see. And it's all interactive and it's ready to be created within, and each person gets to create their own. It's like each person has their own universe. You hop into your own navigator seat and you go around and you catch, people who have very similar energies, and you share those energies and you share experiences that actually evolve us more all the time. And that creativity continues. I don't think there's a destination. I think it's like so many different things can happen, but the feeling that it all comes down to is knowing yourself as the love that you are, and there is no fear, and with no fear, there is creativity and love and joy, and things get righted. They get righted for the right reasons. You can't be knocked over when you don't have any shadow or thickness to blow you down.
Yeah.
That's
so it's
beautiful.
that kind of empowerment that is not necessarily protecting you, but more along the lines of you have such a presence, there is nothing to be protected from.
When you have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
The truth is we were taught that if you had to hide things because there was shame.
Yeah.
Well, shame is a big lie.
Yes.
Big old lie.
Yes.
And the truth is when you get rid of all of that stuff and you just let it up there for everybody to see, everybody's got it. Everybody's got it. Everybody wants to know that you got it too, and they want to just let go of it because it's like enough already. Dragging that stuff around all of this time is just, especially with these energies coming in right now and what's going on this planet, it's too much. It's too much for anybody to hold on to. Nobody wants to anymore. So we're all just going to help each other. We're going to walk each other home. And that's through the heart.
Yeah. And I think, and I get that sense myself too. Like there may be really big skeletons coming out of the closet for some people. And, we can, take them to court over it. We could blame them. We could say, you've been crooked for all this time. We thought, we trusted you. Things like this can take place. Like, I can't believe, you cheated on us, you said take this diet and you're eating not on your diet.
But then you're still a victim, though.
Right. Well, I'm just saying
Right.
these people, I think, are ready to have their skeletons come out of the closet because there's a vulnerability. They may not want their skeletons to come out of the closet. You may not want to be vulnerable. But vulnerability is almost like, for me, it's that vibration of giving yourself permission to change, to shift. And not to go to jail, and not to be outcast or typecast.
Right, no.
But to say, I am who I was, and more so going forward what I wish to be, if I don't have to keep playing the same role that everyone assumes comes with what I've done. So it sounds like, forgiveness or something like that. Like let's let everyone out of prison and just, give them another chance or something like that. But I think society may actually move into helping people get another shot at life, like fresh, another shot at life.
I actually see any kind of law
Structure or something like that?
Yeah, like the law, police and military and that kind of thing, I actually see that all turn around and see those are the ones who are going to be helping people who are in need of help. The flow is just going to, I see the flow coming through. It comes through because the hearts are pure. It's the only way it can come through. When people start seeing that, and you're the one who actually said something not too long ago that helped me see this in an even clearer way. And you said that there will come a time, and I see that as soon actually, but there will come a time when so many things get thrown onto the public stage for being seen as actually as they played out, seemingly, as they played out, all kinds of things. To me, everything is upside down, has been upside down, and they're, we're kind of turning things right side up again. All of a sudden, all these things are going to be turned right side up. Everybody's stuff is going to be seen. It's all going to happen so quickly and so close to the same time. Nobody's going to have time to point fingers because everybody's fingers are going to be pointing at everybody else, but they're really going to be at you, and you're all going to say, who cares? Let's just hold each other, grab our arms, get together, make this happen, open your hearts. It may sound all kinds of fluffy and frou-frou and all of that, but let me tell you, this is going to happen. It's in my world. It's going to happen.
No, it is going to happen. And like the analogy that I have used with people before, and I hope I haven't used it on the show, otherwise it's going to be a boring couple of minutes. But if you've seen like a beautiful piece of furniture made from rainforest wood, out of Indonesia or something, and it's that dark wood, and it's like a beautiful piece of art. But what did you need in order to create that? You needed to have the raw wood itself, you needed sandpaper, and you needed the artist in order to create that. And all three working together helped create that beautiful piece of art. And that's how I see what we've been living through is we've had the sandpaper and we've had the wood in order to create where we are and what we've got and the launching point for what's next. And that's what this is.
Nice. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I feel that, in that last ingredient, the artist, the creator, that's us, like each one of us.
Yeah.
So, and that artistic side comes through when you don't really have a lot of things holding you back. I think a lot of artists, I think everyone's an artist in their own way. They've got something creative that wants to bubble to the surface. We're all creators, and I think everybody might even identify with a traditional art medium, whether it's cooking or tapestries or stamp collecting. It almost doesn't matter. There's a creative approach to sort of like making something that hasn't been before, and I think within each one of us, we might have found a couple safe zones, but I feel like we have a large palette to expand into when we feel ready and comfortable. And a lot of our fears of judgment or ridicule or this idea that it's just not important or I don't have time, all those sort of like boundaries or obstacles will, it's really like in everyone's best interest, we'll find out, everyone will know more and more, our best interest to just sort of like, let's get the ball moving beyond these things, let's get beyond hunger, let's get beyond, treating ourselves in such a way, where we're in judgment for everyone's experience. I happen to be wearing this shirt, Coexist, again. I wear it every once in a while, and I keep forgetting, until I see myself in the camera shot, and then I'm wearing it. Like, I'm just me. But until I like see someone wearing it, I keep forgetting, like wait a second. This is really about everyone joining the same ball game. No matter what your skill level is, no matter what your experience is, no matter where you come in, it's like it doesn't really matter. The rules can be adjusted to make everyone have fun. I remember Little League Soccer, where what they do is they don't count the points, that go into the net. They're just like, just keep playing. The points don't even matter. Just keep going.
Right, and we've got the ability to make the changes. I know before the show, Judy, we talked a little bit about prosperity packages, and how you have strong feelings on how that is going to help us move into the next phase.
Yeah, there are so many potentials out there right now. It is mind-boggling, which I find fascinating.
Tell us about that.
To have, I know of probably around 12 different prosperity packages that are sitting there, that are just sitting around waiting for acceptance and allowance. And the truth is, you can talk about all of this stuff, but if you don't get right down to one thing, which I always want to interject in this one and this one and this one, and it's like, it's always an inside job. So whatever it is within you that's holding it back in your world, and of course I'm looking at myself right there, saying the same thing, whatever that is, it may be experience that you still want to have before that all opens up. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But for me, I found that in my world there are so many different prosperity packages, and I've been a part of working with Swissindo for the last 8 or 9 months, because I've seen the potential of really being able to help make money not even necessary, but as a bridge, bring it through so that it helps people. First of all, it's been offered to the ones that are being brought into Swissindo are all very highly spiritual people. They're people who know themselves and their hearts and can trust themselves, and have gone through a lot of a lot of initiations, a lot of life, a lot of work, and most of us realize that we've actually prepared for this for lifetimes, many lifetimes. And came here not just for Swissindo, but for the freeing of the people of the earth, and for the ascension of all beings. Actually, that's not just happening on earth, that's happening on all levels within our universe. And we are a fulcrum point, and this is a fulcrum point time.
So can you talk about that a little bit? What do you mean by the evolution of all beings?
Well, it's like, are you familiar? Well, you're familiar with fractals, with the Mandelbrot set.
Yeah.
If you pull up the Mandelbrot set and you just make one little change in any one of those little fractals, every other one is showing you that change. So every change you make to your world, every time you change your mind about how you think about something, or every time you decide to make a situation heaven instead of hell, make people innocent instead of guilty, which sounds like, well, how can you do that? Well, only you can do that. And when you start doing it, you actually start seeing that the world, actually, your whole world falls into place, because we live in a hologram. This is a holographic style universe, and whatever we do, whatever we believe to be true, is what comes as our reality.
And if people aren't clear, hologram is actually, if you get into the study and the physics of holograms are the fractal. So you create a small image and you can basically project it into any size. Right. So a hologram is a steady projection of an element of the image that you're actually in tune with. So, and
the all is within each fractal.
Right.
The whole, like all of creation, is within one tiny fractal, within one part, one tiny part of our DNA.
Right. So you could take one nose hair and you could say, that's all me. And you'd be like, no, I'm not, I don't like that idea. Maybe this idea that I'm all in one nose hair. But if it had sort of like a microscope, you can go into the DNA and eventually find the vibration that basically reemerges where you see yourself holding that, that nasal lamp, quite literally. You will find the exact same experience revisited in perfection.
And our scientists now, there's not even a question as to, is this reality? I mean, we found recently too that the fifth element of water, there's what is it? There's a fifth stage of water that
Right.
they found to be multidimensional, and they can prove that water exists in many different dimensions at one time. And what are we made of? What is, so that in itself
We're mostly
has to
water,
tell you.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I know.
we're multidimensional. We are multidimensional beings. We've just been told for a very long time that we're just little peons that, kind of tend to be really bad because our gods don't like us very much. And we have to do really, certain things and pay to God and
Or even that the ruling elite pee on us.
right, and the truth is these stories, we create all of these, but we can also make every single one of those, even the ruling elite. I had a dream the other day, it was last night or the night before last, where it was almost like I was hanging out with them after the whole thing was done,
Yeah.
and it wasn't any big deal. It was just that we were hanging out, we were talking, we were having a great time together. There was no judgment anywhere. Everybody played their parts. There's a reason that everybody plays their own parts, and that we've got that kind of contrast so that we can have that incredible shift. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough to actually spark that to happen.
I've got to go use the washroom, but you guys keep going.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes, and so how do we keep this momentum moving towards this? And the whole idea of the fractals certainly brings into discussion of how it's what you do for yourself that actually makes the change.
I know. You gotta be selfish.
Yeah, so
Go
let's talk
figure.
about that. Nobody wants to be
Seriously.
selfish, right? We've
You
been told
do.
not to.
You have to be selfish, and the more selfish you are, the less selfish you become. But you have to really have to consider yourself. You have to consider how you perceive everything in your world. Everyday little things, I grew up in a household where everything bugged everyone, and everybody got really pissed off, and there was a lot of blah going on in my world, massively. And so I came from that, and and I passed some of that on to my own kids, and even though I thought I was way less than they were, my parents, and pass that on to my kids, and they're like, but eventually you start going, what if that is true? What is true? And then I listened to Abraham Hicks and listened to Bashar, and I can feel what's right. Like I know my own radar system. I know my own system. I know what's true and what's not true within me. And I give myself even space there for leeway, because I'm always evolving and always growing. So if I screw up on something, well, gosh, there's something there to learn. What did I learn from that? So I don't hold anything guilty. I try never to hold anything guilty.
So the whole lack of judgment and all those emotions that go along with it, guilt and shame and all of that
right. They don't have to be there. They really don't have to be there. They serve their purpose, but they're really not going to do well in these new energies. They're not going to be able to be sustained. So when you say, what do we do to keep going forward? Kind of the best thing to do right now is just to relax yourself and just take some really deep breaths and get really, really quiet, and maybe hold your, kind of go inside and treat yourself like you're, a little child who is maybe 4 or 5 years old and, just got smacked by somebody in the sandbox and just wants to be held and accepted as is. That's all anybody ever wants. That's all anything and anybody ever wants, is to be accepted as is, loved, acknowledged, and And that's usually enough. That doesn't mean that you have to get all up in people's business and people have to get up all in yours. But if you can relax that, if you can relax the judgment, then you'll notice that people who, or situations that trigger you start like not coming around much anymore. To the extent that you release that, if you released it completely, it's not going to happen to you. And I can tell you from my experience, that's been a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, that's like getting back to what Julien was talking about before, which is the vulnerability. And that's allowing yourself to be vulnerable with yourself.
Yes.
And you'll find results. You know, nobody wants to believe that being vulnerable is a really big key. It doesn't sound great on paper.
Scary. Yeah.
But believe me, it is the fastest way to realize change. You know, an authentic, you know, vulnerability. I mean, a lot of people can trick their mind into thinking, hey, I apologize, everything should be fine. Well, it sounds like, you know, you're still not taking full responsibility in that.
And sometimes it takes those increments, you know. Sometimes it takes those. I went through all of those. I mean, I went through all of that stuff, and I was supposed to go through all of that stuff because I needed to have experienced a lot of that so that I could really be in a place to feel people when I help them and when we work together and when I, you know, there's a recognition, a soul recognition in that, you know, I've experienced that. And I've released myself from it, and that I can help with others as well.
So there was a question in the chat room that somebody wanted to know if you
Fill
are
up your
from
love tank. Tweety Pie, that's cute. Sorry.
But if you're from the Fae Kingdom, too.
If I am?
Yes.
You know,
Somebody was curious.
I'm not sure. I saw myself as something that I considered a wood sprite. At one point, I sense that I'm from a whole bunch of kingdoms.
Uh-huh.
I really do. I think I got a whole bunch of them in me. and I'll be able, like, I know that I work with the priestesshood, you know, the ancient Egyptian priestess, and also the ancient priestesshood of Ireland, and you know, a lot of other things. I've seen those. You brought some of those to me as well. You know, opened that up, and I've had a lot of initiations with the Isis energy, the goddess, the mother goddess, and Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene, and I could go on. You know, and the Arcturians, and the Pleiadians, and Ashtar, and you know, it's wild. I love that I can actually do this all in one little thing here. But I've had all of those experiences that, you know, sound wacky and out there, but you know what? I had them viscerally, and they changed my life, and I am crazy happy that it's happened.
Cool. So what are you creating for yourself now?
You know, I'm still. Oh, that's a really great question. Because you know, most of the time I'm just in the I'm in this space because I'm meant to be in this space, and I just let it be. So I don't have a lot of anything, but I do have this sense of something ahead that that at least one fractal of me is going to get to enjoy because I am creating this.
Okay.
That's a good attitude, I would say. Yeah.
And that is, I see myself, I've already found the place. I see myself on this beautiful 185-acre estate that has a 9-acre garden and a 7-acre garden and several lakes, emerald lakes, and a space big enough to build like a center for others to come in. Also building tree houses in the wooded acres. There are almost 90 wooded acres as well. And it has orchards, and it's like just me. It's just me. And and I want to be there and welcome people from all over the world who
All over the galaxy.
Or all over the galaxy, of course. Of course. who want to get a taste of what it's like to bask in the energy of Judy and my heart and how I create my reality. And as we do that with each other, and we will be doing that with each other, we enhance each other's lives in amazing ways. And that's what I want to do. I see myself almost as a high priestess again in that realm. And that is a way of stating an energetic knowingness, but there's really no hierarchical leveling like we know it here on this planet. It's when you get to be the high priestess, your heart is so open, you know everything is crazy awesome, and it's as valuable as a speck of dust. Every being, every speck of dust, everything. No hierarchy. All is the hierarchy. That's it. We are all the kingdom of God. We are here on this planet. We're bringing heaven to earth. That's what we're here for.
And we're bringing it to earth through being us.
Yes.
Like nothing else. You can't actually do it without being you.
Right.
You know. So,
yeah, everybody's got a unique role. Everybody, which is so exciting.
Yeah, that's why I love meeting people and talking with people who kind of get this, because they're definitely on a roll to making this happen for themselves, sharing that experience is happening to themselves. I mean, there's a lot of people who have done this and, keep it in private. And there's a lot of people who have done it maybe in a way where they didn't realize that it was working for them this way. So it's more like making it more accessible as well.
And I think a lot of people will be out there, thinking, God, what am I going to do? What's my special calling, or what's this? And what I want to say to that is that if you start releasing all of the BS about who you think you are and start relaxing, like I'm telling you, and kind of going inside and finding that juicy space inside and loving yourself, the answers are already there, and they're going to show themselves to you. It is innately who you are. It will reveal itself. It's not something you have to go find or search for. So I hope that helps.
Or if it is searching, it's not traditional.
Right.
It's not, you don't read it in a book.
Well, you search from what is within you. You search from what excites you. What is it that just pulls me? And that's what I've always seen, all of my big, huge change. The times when big changes happen, there were synchronicities that were so in your face, obvious. This does not really happen in real life kind of stuff. Not like that.
Yeah.
And I'm given a lot of them because I trust them and I work with them. And that's why I'm here right now, and that's where I've been, probably for the last 15 years or so.
Wow.
So, we're at the hour, and I had a couple questions for Judy.
Cool.
And, but before I get to those questions, Dawn, were there any comments that you wanted to share from the chat room, maybe?
It's been active. It's like it's been going so fast. I got the one question.
Camel through the eye of the needle.
Yes, a lot of great comments here.
She's a time traveler too.
Yes, somebody says you're a time traveler. Do you hear ETs? Is a question.
I hear. I see, I hear, I sense. It's not something that is like, in the forefront for me, but I'm always guided. And, I see things every day. Like I'm starting to see, when I look at the sky now, I'm starting to see the honeycomb template of energy, and I see things happening in it, and I see auras of birds now. Things are happening really fast, which is exciting. But the more you do, the more you pay attention to it, the more you get excited and get that energy up, So talking about it is great. And
Well,
thank you
yeah.
again, both of you, for bringing me on. I was so nervous and I'm so excited. But the more you do it, the more you grow it within, the stronger it gets, the more it becomes normal, natural, and then all of a sudden things start just moving away from you that don't feel good anymore, and you just become the flow.
Mm-hmm. I remember, I mean, this was several years ago, but I was going into the movie theater with my daughter to see Finding Nemo. And we got to the door to go into the theater, and she turned around, she stopped me, and she said, "Dad, can we just watch this movie and not make it a universe thing?"
Oh my God!
So we watched the movie, and we left, and she said, "Well, you haven't said anything. Did you like the movie?" I said, "I can't say anything. It was nothing but a universe
It's all about
movie."
the
It's
universe.
nothing but
So yeah, and it just changes the way you see everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
There are. I'm going to go to my questions.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to lie, they're not all my questions. Some of the questions were handed over to me.
Ooh. Is this from your wife?
No, this is not from Crystal.
Okay.
Off planet.
But she might have contributed to the energy that maybe makes it appear for me.
Okay. That kind of handed over to you.
There is, a place where people are trying to find some sort of grounding with their movement forward. And people have come across using tools like, the tarot or oracle cards and this sort of thing. What would you say to people who know that, they're in that place where it feels like, they're going out on a limb with their thoughts. They're, because it's harder for them to communicate with people about, what their truest desires are. It's almost like they want to live their heart, but they're afraid because they don't see a lot of evidence. Mm-hmm. For me, I've, given suggestions to use things that ground, that are, phenomenal and synchronistic, like, tarot cards or astrology and whatnot. In your way of interpreting how these tools contribute to grounding, can you talk a little bit about, why a tool isn't like cheating? Why it's still, a valuable asset for somebody who's in their journey. And, I sense that, sometimes people don't have the mental capacity to put all together. And, and why maybe looking someone up with skills is a good thing to do.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. It's really interesting. I was blown away from the beginning, and I'm still in a kind of fun way, still blown away by the tarot and and other people's abilities, like your own and other friends of mine as well. The world is so much more multifaceted than we've ever thought, and every thought we have goes out and magnetizes something to it that matches it. Everything is energy, and your whole field resonates with what you believe to be true, whether your fears, your beliefs, really hidden stuff that you're not even aware of, that maybe even comes from another lifetime. This stuff resides within your body field, and you can tell if it's really hard on you because your body's not going to feel good, and you're going to get sick a lot, and you're going to feel really tired and depressed and that kind of thing. With tarot, what happens is, and forget about the tired and depressed and all that. I don't want to bring that into the tarot part. That's just what happens because your energy field is your energy field, and it just is what it is. And for whatever reason, the tarot actually takes a snapshot of your energy field, the multidimensional part of your energy field, from the center outward, and takes a snapshot, and it actually tells what's going on with you at the moment. It tells kind of what everything is spinning around. It shows you where there are blockages, where, you know, old thought patterns still have you stuck in something, then you can't get past it. You can't figure out why you can't get past it, because you really haven't been paying attention, because everybody does this, and hey, you know, it's normal, until you look at it in a different way, until you decide to perceive it in a different way, and then you stop bringing that old pattern back in and reframe a certain thing, and see the jewels in it, see the gifts in it. When you can start seeing the gifts in anything, that's when you can start really moving forward. So anyway, it'll show where those exist. It'll show where you have help from your guides and what your guides are trying to tell you. It'll show what your whole self, your multidimensional self really wants, where it wants to go, and where it's likely to go given the energetic push that's going on right now. And if there's something that needs to change about that, how to do it. It actually shows all of that, which is amazing to me. But it does. And and the way that I was taught, even the fact that I was interested in learning happened in a split second. I heard somebody say something, my whole body twisted around, and everything about me said, yes, I must learn this. And then I was told when to stop the process of learning and go out and start doing it. And it's just evolved and evolved and evolved since then. And I find it to be incredible and fascinating, and I'm actually expanding daily with the things that I'm actually using as an oracle, because the truth is, everything in your whole world is your oracle. Everything is you reflecting what you believe to be true. So if you can start not just reading the tarot, and that will help. It'll help you get on the right track much faster. And I love doing it. My heart just digs it. I really like doing it. I love helping people move through their stuff, because it helps my world. My whole world gets better all the time every time I help someone. Exponentially, actually. But, it really comes down to what's going on in your world all around you, because that's actually your oracle. It's actually telling you what you believe to be true. And there are a lot of ways of looking at that too, because there might be things that while you're there and you're doing certain things and you can't get you're not jumping over something huge and getting to where you might want to be, and you're in a place where it's okay, but I'd rather be in that 185 acres, and all those beautiful walking paths and all of that. But I know, I know also to discern the fact that if I am where I am, there is a really good reason for it. And there's really juicy stuff there, and I get to grow because of it, and I get to help others grow because of it.
Wow, very cool. I think
awesome.
I think a lot of people will resonate with this sort of going with this sort of guidance, because guidance is sometimes there when we're a little bit, unsure, right? We need some sort of synchronicities, and
definitely.
People may not be able to look at, just overall elements of life and say, I can make sense of this, but there are those who can, and
so what you're
and there's
saying
ways of sort of like picking up and just maybe even taking notes on what's going on, because I'll give you an example. Let's just say someone bumps up one day with their relationship and it looks like it's in turmoil. Like it looks like, oh my God, been married for 20 years and I can't believe it starts to look like right now that things are crumbling. Someone may, seek guidance to be like, oh my God, this is... A lot of people will seek guidance when there's trouble, brewing from their perspective.
Trouble means change.
it just means change. It's a really good point. And so sometimes
Hazel, do you hear Hazel?
Yeah, she's
I know.
she's squealing.
Oh my God, she wants to be a part of this show. She
It
is.
sounds like
looking
she's
at
in the
herself
Jolly
in the
Jump.
mirror.
She's squeaking.
Yeah. But when someone's in a tight spot, sometimes they go for guidance to sort of get that bigger picture. And I think there's no real correct tool. I think people are just proficient with various tools. But anyhow, I'd like to go on to the next question, which is, well, I don't know what it is, so I'm going to ask them, because they basically wanted to end up in the queue. The Pleiadians wanted to ask you a question that you could share the answer to publicly.
Okay.
They are asking, there's so many people on the planet that identify with illnesses, like you had for years. And in some cases, they have a terminal, a distinction within them. If you were to meet with someone with a particular illness, do you feel that it's possible to help identify what might be, the truth behind it? What sort of maybe, what's not happening that therefore causes this to happen, or something like that?
Probably really easily.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Because they get this feeling that if that were to just become identified, sometimes it may go away a lot more easily. Like just maybe getting a sense for that. The second part of the question is, if you were to identify as a healer, what would you say is the healing modality that you do? They believe that everyone has a healing skill of sorts, and that's either for the collective or just for themselves. What would you call your healing practice or milieu or experience?
Or experience?
Or experience, something that you feel associated with or grounded in comfort with.
Yeah, I used to do Reiki, and I loved that because it helped me really create a real natural connection with others outside of just my physical body, and realize that it was even true. I could feel it, so it worked, and all of that. But right now, I think, what I do right now is all I see is the heart. It's all about the heart. So I help people love their own heart. That's a huge healer. When you can love your own heart, from there, everything else can be healed.
So, having the heart in good shape helps a lot of other healings to go on?
No, it's really, it's not about the physical heart, although it translates. It's about loving your own self. It's about accepting yourself, allowing yourself to be uniquely you, seeing yourself as a precious being, really learning to be your own best friend and your own best, cheerleader, and your own most honest companion, and also have fun and enjoy yourself. All of that is completely possible. The more you love yourself, the more you know who you are, and the easier you are on yourself about it all, the easier it flows. And from when you start to really love yourself, your heart just gets big, and you know that you can change a lot of different things. You're going to want to help other people, and when you do that, you help yourself. Everything you do for someone else, you do for yourself. And everything you do for yourself, you do for others too. So, it's a feedback loop. It's a constant feedback loop.
Kind of because everything's holographic to begin with anyhow.
Yeah.
And everything is associated with everything else.
Right.
Don, I'm going to ask for your help in this next question.
Okay.
Dawn, when you and I first met, it was in a session, but you had been following me, I believe, on some recordings, maybe going back to like the time of Chris Hales.
You're right.
Do you remember back then when I first started talking with Pleiadians or like introduced them versus before I identified with being a part of talking with Pleiadians at all? Do you happen to remember just the period in time?
Yes, I remember the time.
So around that period in time, there was, of course, the One People show, which, you know, eventually spearheaded the Opal Tour later that year.
Right.
But there was a lot of discussion about contracts.
Yes.
And Heather Tushy was discussing how we had sort of been organized through contracts in our government.
Right.
And she did her part in releasing people from the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Through legal means, like legally declaring, you know, that there's a new contract and we're free, and this stands above all other contracts, and all other contracts are illusions underneath this contract. Generally speaking.
Basically nullifying.
Basically nullifying it, and, you know, the only purpose is in nullifying it. Do you remember how things really changed quickly at the beginning of 2013 around that, right?
Massive
Totally.
time for me, too.
It was
massive.
massive for everyone, right?
Massive change for me too. Yeah. I mean, I remember it. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the question is, regarding contracts, or this idea of like written permission, or this idea of, you know, consent and non-consent. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, where you think that fits, or where it used to, or sort of help people from your point of view, sort of like elevate that discussion a little bit, so that people can feel not so disempowered by the idea that contracts are so, you know, final, we'll put it. And that, you know, I was born to be this, and I'm stuck with that. I think, you know, sometimes there are things we tell each other,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also ones that are literally written down, you know, like you get graded in school, this is how smart you are.
Right.
This is what it is. What would you do to help people who feel sort of you know, negatively impacted by this idea that they're caught under contract or caught in a tough space?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Well, you know, personally, I've stayed away from them for the most part. Almost, I mean, I bought a house when I was 31, and I remember I had a couple of different credit cards. I had a great job. And I ended up paying off my credit cards and got a late notice on one of them, said I was a day late. And as far as I was concerned, in my head, I was not late. And there was no way I was going to pay a $35 late fee for paying off a credit card. You know, and it was like, that was my big trigger for me. That was like, this is not a dance I want to continue with. And I also understood that whole contractual thing, who doesn't watch a TV commercial about a drug product from a pharmaceutical company, and see that most of the commercial is about the disclaimers or what you need to look out for, that it might kill you if you know, you take something to make your teeth shiny, you know, and it might give you an aneurysm, and, you know, I have a prostate problem, and, you know, eyes go blind, and so, you know, to me, the whole thing about contract is already showing itself to be absurd. Your contract is your heart, your own truth. And I'm not a fan of paperwork, and I'm not a fan of rules. I'm a fan of letting myself, again, I gotta be selfish on this one, letting myself be free enough to trust myself, to do right for me. And I know that I don't want to hurt anybody, and I know most people out there don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
They don't. It's just the story keeps going around that there are bad people, and to be afraid, and you're sold fear all over the place. So most people go around thinking, well, okay, then I should be afraid of this, and I should be afraid of that. Not because they even believe it, but because it's rote. And those are contracts. Those, when you watch TV, you're getting contracted. Unless you can skip through all of that and wipe it all out, and there are some people who can do that to some extent, but
well, what would you tell someone who does want to get out of the contract world, even at a real basic level? I mean, besides the idea of saying, all my contracts are null, what is the sort of the approach that they're looking for? I mean, I know you're talking from that perspective, but someone who says, I should be free, and I believe I'm free, and that's the greater truth than any contract that I've ever been a part of. What is it that drives someone to have the energy to persist behind, holding their ground and speaking that truth? What do you feel, helps someone have that heart or that courage?
Well, I think that is a thoroughly and completely unique per person situation, and everybody holds their own truth within them, and while having a conversation with someone and bringing information into the mix, a lot of that can be brought up and seen and walked through, but I don't see it as my responsibility, or do I feel like I need to in any way tell others what they should or shouldn't do. I think that people do the best they can with what they have, and while there are those who are working with the whole contract thing, there are those who are doing the best they can in using contracts to kind of go in and help the situation and clear it out, like Heather Antucci Giraffe did.
Right.
There are also others who want to get rid of them altogether, and all I would say is, I hope your belief system is so strong that it can carry that like a turtle, like you can make that move for you and get others really, excited about it. I think it all comes down to getting rid of all of that, because we are enough. Do we need to have a bridge to get there? That's what we'll find out. We'll find out how much of that we as a collective still need. And we're in a place right now too, Don, you might like this one too. We keep hearing about this accelerated timeline potential that we've got coming up here, and that does keep coming back around with from several energetic fields. So these are minutiaes, and they can be they can inhibit inertia. And and sometimes what it really comes down to is, do you believe in love? And if you do, can you get quiet enough with inside of yourself and to just relax and let go of the whole story and let this time frame take you? Ground in as much as you can the love, call in your help, let the fear move through you. Don't own it. Don't own any of the fear that you're going to be shown now. This is all like a river running through it. Let the waves continue. Don't be the waves. You are the whole. So just let the waves continue. There are going to be a lot of them now for a little while. From what I'm seeing, but after these waves, you're still going to be there, and the water's going to start getting really clear, and then you're going to be able to swim to where you want to go and create what you want to create. And so all of that stuff about contracts and all of that, I see that as kind of an in and out thing pretty quickly.
An in and out shift beyond it, because we've lived. A lot of people identify with contracts being inherent in just general transactions. I mean, contracts of marriage, contracts of usage of cash, like you're not allowed to tear a bill, it's illegal, things like this. I think it gets convoluted quickly, and
relax is what I say. Just relax and step one foot in front of the other. Just take one step and say, if that doesn't feel really good, because you got to really pay attention to what your body is telling you, if it feels right or if it doesn't feel right. And, do the best you can with what you've got. Did that just say 144? Of course it did. I see it all the time.
We've got two of me now. Dawn is going to have to call
you got
us
the
back.
caricature you. Oops,
I've
no.
got me
I'm
and
backwards here.
Okay.
There you go. So, I'm really thinking that whole, just letting it go and taking one step at a time, but just relaxing about it all, because so much is going to change so quickly that you may not have to do all of the legwork in between right now, If you're, excuse me, if you're moving along with this shift and you can just relax and release and kind of make yourself like a loose weave tapestry, a really loose weave tapestry, and let the winds blow through you, you're going to be doing a whole lot better than those who are standing there say, well, I believe in this, and I know this, and I know this. Those people are going to get knocked down, and they're going to stand up, they're going to get knocked down, they're going to stand up. They may actually leave body. People are going to be doing that. But if they're here to make it through that, they're going to get knocked down so many times, they're finally going to be so exhausted, they won't have time, or they won't have the energy to fight it anymore, and all of a sudden they'll just be overcome with their natural state, which is love. And then it'll be all like, oh yeah, I see it all. Nobody, when you see it like that, you don't blame yourself. There's no more feeling of judgment. There's no more feeling of, what's that word that is so important? People are made to be shamed. No more shame. You won't shame yourself, and you won't shame anybody else, and you won't want to.
It reminds me of Dawn calling back. Oh, hello, Dawn.
Hello, Julien. Hello, Judy.
It reminds me of, when you see a child who's having a fit, and then it eventually goes to the point where they're like crying, like not like crying for attention or screaming, like the genuine, I feel terrible, I've lost, this
Release.
and there's just, and maybe they're, they're slobbering, it's all wet, and they may be in that place where they're just, God, what a mess, this poor child. But in that way, you're like that poor child. You're able to sort of like step in and say, no, everything's going to be fine. Everything's, going to settle itself. And that release, of that energy is a really valuable period, because, there's a great deal of...
Seriously.
Yeah, there's a great deal of healing that comes in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you've seen children and be like, oh, so, maybe this is your own child, like I've had with my kids. It's like, oh, so you are going to give me everything I want? I'm like, well, not exactly. But sort of like, identify with, true release, identify, or even maybe just stages of release.
Yeah.
Because sometimes crying isn't even a once, situation. Sometimes there's stages of
definitely
of letting go. So I think some people might get caught up with the, I'm done with money. I'm never going to use money. I was like, well, money might still hunt you down and say, what do you think about this? And you're like, oh, well, not all circumstances, you might say. And then, you're kind of one foot in, one foot out.
It depends on your true conviction.
Right.
Inside and out, the true conviction. What do you really, really, really believe to be true? Because if there's only a part of you that believes it to be true, the other part's going to be showing itself to you saying, are you sure?
Right.
Yeah, really? I don't know about that.
That paradoxically trying to make a decision between two two beliefs in a way, right? Like if you have cross beliefs where one is working against another, it's almost like, how do you pull out of that? How do you pull out of this, some people call it a downward spiral of confusion, but I feel like the heart is always the compass, right? And
well, it is. And what I like to do and what I like to offer to others to consider is, I remember hearing about this years ago and thinking, yeah, well, that might be easy for you, but it's not so easy for me.
Sure.
A lot of things over time actually have been like that, and now it's like, oh my gosh, of course, so easy. Of course I know that, but it took the experiences to move through them. But what I think is important right now is when we're looking at anybody on the world stage or in our world home, in our work world or whatever, and we see things going on that don't feel really good to us. For me, what I'm seeing right now and what I keep being told from my guides is look for the spark of the divine within the being in front of you. What they're showing you is the persona that their ego has created over time, and they're trying the best they can to be the best they can, as best they can. And the thing about that is if you can just even give them that consideration, you've released the weave that says, okay, I believe that this is true. That, something about me is saying that I still believe that this is true. But if you can see the spark and you can feel the love for that spark, because look, that's what's in you too. And other people have been looking at you over time going, okay, let me just see the spark. Where is that spark? I know what. Anyway, I think if we can do that for each other now, really look into the fact that we are here to bring heaven to earth. The only way to do that is to make heaven out of what is in front of us. Seriously, and the only way to do that is to see the divine spark or feel the divine spark or just know it's there and go off and be on your own. I mean, there might be people, that are showing you, giving you options for experience that you might say, you know what, thank you, but no thank you. I think I choose something a different way, but thank you for offering. That happens too. A lot of it is just thank you, but no thank you, and you being okay with that.
I think you've covered a lot of really deep stuff in today's talk. Maybe going a bit faster than many people can just sort of say, oh my God, this all really fits now that I've heard Judy talking about it. I think they want to maybe spend some time. Listen to this recording again. There's many layers in what we're talking about tonight and what Judy's sharing, because on the one hand, you might get part of it, or you might get another level, or another level of depth to what she's talking about when you listen to it again. This happens when things can look confusing or paradoxical in nature, but you're going to see that it all lines up. She's an example of someone who's living an experience. She's alive and breathing and happy right now, and she has figured out a lot for herself. She's still exploring. Everyone is. I will not take that away from anyone, and I feel like you should probably reach out to Judy if you feel the same way that she does, because she'll be able to carry that conversation with you really easily. I think you're pretty open to meeting friends, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just realized I'm putting that out there before.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. But if people wanted to reach you, what is a good way?
Well, my Facebook page, you could reach me on my Facebook page. It's under Judy Jandora, VANCILJANDORA. Oh, you can read my name there. And let's see what else.
Do people reach you by email or Skype or other things like that?
Well, Skype, yeah, you can reach me by Skype. Just reference this, though, because I get some funny people that come in on Skype that are, just kind of spammers or whatever. So definitely reference the show or something. But my Skype address is Judy Jandora1. And if you reach me, my email is judyjandora@gmail.com. Trying to make it easy. You can get in touch with me anyway, but definitely, reference tarot or reference, exploring the New Age, the interview, or something like that, so that I know. There are so many amazing things going on right now with our world, and so many potentials that are really going to make our world a whole lot more amazing and easier to manifest in, and we won't have this drudgery for much longer at all. I think we've kind of exhausted it all, and we wanted to exhaust it all. It's like I don't hold anything guilty anymore. But anyway, yeah, so if you want to get in touch with me, you can catch me there. Catch me on my Facebook page. Inbox me, and I'm happy to set up a Skype session. I wanted to let you know, too, that's what I do. For a lot of people, I can record it on Skype and then put it onto YouTube privately, so that you can go back, because a lot of stuff does come out, and it does come out in a lot of layers. So it's important to have it. That's like with Julien's readings. I always went to Julien. He was my oracle.
I was your oracle.
He's
okay.
my oracle. But we recorded the sessions. I recorded the sessions, and I went back and re-listened to them later. And oh my gosh, things I got that I didn't get the first time, or the second time, or the third time.
Yeah. So sometimes you're actually helping yourself in the future too.
Yeah.
Like
But I make that
getting
available.
something now and helpful.
Definitely.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
Dawn, did you have any sort of closing things you wanted to share or ask her, or maybe the chat room? I'm not sure if you've been following
I was kind of looking through the chat room, and it was moving so fast that
There's a lot going on, huh?
oh, it's like everybody was sharing it. This was really, really great.
So people
Andrea
join
said
our shows and join the chat room. It sounds like it's a lively crew. I mean,
Really?
I know it is, and I know when Crystal's in there, she usually tries to help, get people's questions answered. Excuse me.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a
Just a
lot
lot
when
of
you were talking
comments.
about the contracts. There was a lot of information being passed around. People wanting to know more about the definition of soul contracts are and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
That's kind of a whole discussion in itself.
It is.
Yeah.
We may want to
And I'm not
pull
an
that out
expert
on
on any
Wednesday.
of the contracts. I just naturally have released most of mine. I didn't do it in any prescribed way. In fact, there were people prescribing ways that didn't feel right to me. But that's been my bent. My bent my whole life is to be doing things my own way. I had to
Right.
actually create my own way through uniquely for me.
Yeah, and if you feel attuned to that, then Judy's probably your person to help you navigate
Yeah.
that journey. But
Yes.
there's many wonderful people who are helping with reworking your soul contracts. If you're familiar with what that is enough, that do good work. I know myself. I basically look around for people that sort of suit the approaches that feel good to me. Like I love astrology. I love tarot. I love oracle readings. I love Ouija boards, if that's what it comes down to. But am I proficient in them? I am definitely not.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate an expert in those fields when I'm looking for some guidance about myself. That's
It can be
that works in a
really helpful if you are at a turning point where you need some change, because that's the kind of energy when it comes to a reading, I can feel it before the reading even starts.
Yeah.
My whole energy field gets like, whoa, this is going to be wild.
Yeah.
They always are. I mean, they're always amazing. I always feel so blessed to do the readings. I feel honored. But that's when you get exactly what your soul is asking you to hear. They actually give you exactly what you need to hear to make it happen. Your job is to kind of open yourself up to it and allow yourself to have it be a potential for you to move forward in.
Yeah. Which reminds me, I do sessions too. I think if people are not familiar with that yet. You know, and you can find me at julianwells.com /book-now. So, or just find me at julianwells.com.
And it's on your page.
Do I need
It's on
a
my
.com?
No, you don't need a .com. I just happen to have a lot of information going on there, links to my videos and that sort of thing. And you can subscribe as well, because anything that goes up will show up in the newsletters and things. But I think it's probably a good time to wrap up for tonight.
Perfect.
We have a very filled.
Thanks so much.
It's
Thank
gone so
you.
quickly. I mean, what's an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes is just gone by. These interviews,
Bam, bam, bam.
we need to make the 4-hour edition sometime, right?
Woo.
Just come out with let's make sure we suck them dry of all the information we ever wanted from them in 4 hours or something.
Exactly.
But I'm kidding. I did want to quickly announce that, and this is the first time I'm announcing it, more information will follow tomorrow, but I'm actually going to be putting together my first workshop. It's going to be hella exciting. It's really shortly. There's a very special weekend, 2 weekends from now. I don't know the dates. So that's how loosely this is. It's only begun being arranged yesterday. So this is really, really early in the planning phases, but I do know it's going to be coming up here really quickly. It's going to be an online workshop, a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday deal, probably 2-hour sessions, 5 in total, 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. They're going to be recorded, so even if you can't participate, and it is really useful to participate because there's going to be some audience, and not just audience, but people who are in the workshop doing some work between each other. So it'll be a lot more effective during the workshop than just the recordings. But the recordings, of course, are still going to be very valuable, and people can access that. It's going to go through a Google Hangouts arrangement, so you will need to have some access to joining through a Google Hangouts arrangement. That's basically a Gmail account. Anyway, that's all I really know right now. But it's definitely following on last Wednesday's show. It's like we had a discussion on sort of like this new insight I'm coming into. And it turns out that there's just not enough time in the shows to get this out. It really needs to be all at once, and it'll be recorded, and the recordings will be accessible to purchase, so that you can go through it in your own space and time after the workshop. So even if you don't attend, you'll still have a recording system. But anyways, look for some news tomorrow, Sunday, as I get more details out from that. And Don and I will be on top of keeping you informed through the regular ways.
We will. We've got our Wednesday show coming up, and next week we'll be interviewing Bob Wright.
Bob Wright, my old co-host.
Your old co-host.
Yeah, and very good friend.
Very good friend of mine too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking forward to
if
that.
you don't know who Bob Wright is, Facebook him now. Just
Yes.
know, or Google search him. He has he's been a part of lots of things that you can find him on Google. He of course was a part of the transitioning show that I did with him. There's lots of recordings of that floating around, even on my YouTube channel, I believe. But you're basically looking at a present-day Zen Buddha guru kind of person that just sort of like lives his truth, much like Judy does, but maybe in another language of sharing it. And I just love getting all these beautiful, really grounded perspectives that talk about the New Age. I mean, that's what we're here to do, to explore the New Age and the people that are right on board.
I can't wait until next week's show.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
I can't wait.
So,
I love hearing Bob talk.
So thank you, Judy, for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Judy.
Thanks, you
Julien.
guys for having me. This is great. I just realized, though, the whole time he's talking and I'm looking at him on here, I look like I'm looking over here.
Oh, you look like you're looking the
way.
wrong. It's not
So
that
anyway,
professional.
yeah. Anyway, I was like,
it's not a studio. It's a log cabin.
you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. Thank
Yes,
you
it
so
was.
much.
Thank you. No, I'm going to get to hug the guests.
Yes.
There you go. I wish I was there.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you everybody in the chat room.
Yes,
I
thank
was
you for all the comments.
Reading all your cool comments. Love you all.
All right.
Hi,
Good night,
Krista.
everyone.
Hey, good night.
Bye-bye.